Okay, so here we are, John, for the third and final screencast. This time I'm going to look at some important code, mainly based around the marking scheme, and maybe some nice features that I put in myself as well. So first thing, I will go into Visual Studio. With some of these bars, some more space for code. Now, where did it go? Where did I do that? Yeah, there we go. Sorry. So, first thing I'm going to look at is main. Actually, I can get rid of this now, because that's just for testing, saving and stuff. Alright, so here's main. First thing I do is create a vector of rooms when I set them to work. I mentioned in the plan, which by the way I was just about finished when I cut off there, so yeah, I don't think we need to go back and talk about that. It may have seemed a little rude though. Anyway, so I set up a vector of rooms, and I said that the reason I use the vector is to set the size, to keep the size set, and also for random access. For a quick random access, and there's no need to keep adding or removing things apart from just appends initially, so it seems like the quickest possible solution, apart from an array, but use a vector, because vectors and arrays are very similar. Same, use the vector of enemies as well, because the enemies do not actually delete it until the end. I just need to store them like that, so I can delete them at the end. I set up the enemies there, which will probably take a look at in a minute. The reason that I use them was to use the nice clean vector : const iterator when I'm iterating through each one. So, also, sorry, I'm losing myself here. Vectors can have a memory overhead, but not in this case, only when I have many of them, and large ones that as well. So then I create an item store and call add items to world, which we'll look at in a minute. Print intro, create a player, start on player, we'll see that in a minute. Set to position to 10, so the player always starts at room 10 all the time, loading or not. Run the game loop, which we'll see. And then clean up, which is a function we'll see soon enough, which is pretty much what the destructors are supposed to do, but they didn't seem to work. I had like 600 memory leaks, which I've seen in class, and they're all gone now, thanks to this beautiful little function. And then that's the end. So, that's all, thanks. No one else. So, first thing we look at is item store, because I didn't mention this in the plan. I don't think so. Anyway, I used a linked list underneath there, and I used the STL list. So the reason for using a linked list is because interaction with items are basically pick it up or drop it. Or basically, if a player picks up an item, it gets added to their inventory and taken out of the room's inventory. So list is order C for add and remove, and that's why I'm using a list. Here's a thing that I was mentioning in the nice, just ended the blending here, but here's the thing I was saying in the plan. Just take that out there. Classic copy and paste job. But this is to print nicely. So it says you can see, right, and then it starts iterating through. So if the next one is equal to the end and we're not still at the start, then print out and. So we have this and this, and this. And there's only one thing there, then it won't just go you see and this. Right, so then we have iterator, dereferenced again, dot get name dot substring to the name dot length minus 1 equals s. So if the last letter is s, put in the word some. So you see some dogs. That's a plural thing. Or you see some shoes is a case where it's actually used. So if the first letter is a vowel, so this goes A, O, E, I, O, U, A, E, I, O, U. Then put in an. Otherwise, just use a. And then, if it's empty, or if it's not empty, so after all of these get put in, the pronoun, I don't know what it's called. Not much of an English person. Yeah. Yeah. So after that, we then put in the name of the item and a comma. And then here, it's just, as long as it's not empty, put in a backspace, and a dot. Simple stuff. Here we have overloaded operator square brackets, and it takes in an index. What this does is just returns the item at that index, and that's order n complexity. Get by name, same complexity as above. This time it passes the name and checks, iterates through, checks if the name is equal to p name, which is passed in, and then returns that iterator if it is, that dereference iterator. Contains order n as well, check if an item is in the list. Remove just calls the stl list.remove and then minus size. Item store size, get the size straight up, 8 down. Save, right. This is absolutely stolen from Shane's code. I have referenced him above. Here we have it as well. This is Shane's Gavin code. I merely implemented it to suit my game. So, more so, you'll see it better in the player, the bits that are Shane's, and then the bits that are mine. So, the item store is probably the best place to look and show you where I didn't get it working. So this is pretty much this one here. These two are just wrapper classes around this read object and write object. Couldn't get this working, mainly because I didn't have the time to do it, and I'm out of time now. I'm going to have to just do the screencast and upload. But what was happening was that the everything was coming in as just standard items, none of the extension ones like the children items. The idea I had was, when I'm writing an item out, I could put an integer at the very start, determining what type it is. So like 1 for standard item, or 2 for a weapon, 4 for a container. And then reading it in, I just have to read the integer and then go, so item star equals new weapon or something, depending on which one's coming in. So that's something I would have liked to do, but I didn't get it done. And then read object, as you can imagine, should be the reverse of that, but it's not used, so we don't need to look at it really. Cleanup is a very important class, or method, member function. So this iterates through and deletes the dereferenced header. So deletes the pointer, deletes what's at the pointer in the list. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I thought that this destructor was supposed to do, but it doesn't do that. So I imagined that this was going to call this destructor and then call the underlying mlist destructor and do this, but obviously it didn't. I still had memory leaks, so I done it myself. Also, if I tried to put this into there, it gave me some exceptions. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was like invalid block type or something. Anyway, that's that. We'll move on. Next thing, we'll look at player really quickly. So, here we go. Include Shane's stuff. I keep my references straight. There's just our constructor. So you can see every player gets set to a 50 strength, 50 for these base skills. Attributes even. Set current position, setup. So this is where the player is set up. If you go to sign up and you create a new player, this is where it sends you. So you choose a race, you then choose a class, and they give you some bonuses. So that'll set up then your perception and all that. Then we have assigned skill points at the end, and then I've added this in recently that your max HP equals to whatever your HP is at the end of your setup. So assigning skill points, basically just a little output there. What skill do you want to bump and how many points, and then if amount is greater than skill points, amount is equal to the amount of skill points you have, and then as long as it's greater than 0, then bump a skill, and minus the amount of skill points that were spent. Simple stuff. Assign race stats. So this is just, as I said before, depending on what race you pick, you're given some basic attributes. You know, a dwarf has OP strength and good agility, but nothing else. So amazing brawn and lack of brain. Assign class stats. This is the exact same idea as above. So if you pick a fighter, you get good HP, OB, and DB, but nothing else. Pretty much anything else, and you have some good combinations that I thought were, you know, pretty balanced. So if you pick a dwarf fighter, you're going to be an absolute beast, but you might fail at the puzzles a few times. Any other combination should be fine. But it's fun to play as dwarf and just smash everything in one go. Assign bonuses. So this is based your OB, DB, and all that. You get some extra bonuses depending on how high your basic attributes are. Like example, if your agility is greater than or equals to 90, you get a plus 15 bonus. I'm sure you've played RPG games before, you said before in class, so you'll understand how that works. You know, I had the idea that a paper-based digital game would be pretty fun to play. And it is fun to make as well. Print simply prints the player at the screen. Nothing to talk about there. Bump skill takes in an integer to represent the skill and an amount to bump it by. And as you can imagine, that skill gets bumped up. Get the player position, get experience, get level, add experience points. So just takes an experience and adds it onto the player experience, and then sorts out what level you're at then, and you get 10 skill points for leveling up. Set level, same applies. Check if a player has an item, add an item to the inventory, remove from inventory. Get perception, get use item, print the inventory, set class, set race. What I want to get down to is the saving stuff. Okay, right, here logging in next. This is important. That's just marks in the market scheme for it. So, what happens is call load. And we'll see that in a second. It pretty much asks the player what's the name of their save file, and then asks them for the password, and it checks it against the password. So here we go. Enter your password. If input is equal to get password to the player that's just been loaded in, then return true. If it's not right, it's going to keep asking you. Probably should have put in a limit of like 3 or something, and then if you put in -1, it'll stop you and go back out, and then you'll be required to make a character. So this is the start function. This is what's called the start of main. That just asks you, do you want to sign up or log in? So if you hit sign up and that returns false, it'll break out, and then hang on a minute. Yeah, there we go. So that's yeah, if you don't sign up, it's gonna make you log in. and I'll come back and change this.